We're a little bit too late, but I hope I could finish the talk in time. I welcome everyone. Today I'd like to talk about the visions we have in the UX team for the next TYPO3 release. And yeah, as I didn't do a lot visually in the past, I just shortly like to introduce myself. So I'm for TYPO3 CMS, as we now have two TYPO3s, the head of usability, and I work as creative director. You could always send me a mail if you like to tell me something about the usability of TYPO3, and usually I try to respond quickly. I live with my wife and my son and two cats near Frankfurt, and I love snowboarding, electronic music, visiting art stuff, and in general having to deal with complicated UX challenges. That's what makes me smile. So that fits to TYPO3, I would say. I'd like to start off with some thoughts we had about open source. As this drives the community, the product, and ourselves, I think it's important to at least shortly think about that. So it starts by having the spirit of sharing ideas, thoughts, code, design, whatever. Most of us, we all do that. We need a passion for contribution, so it's not only publishing extension, but also maintaining that. So you really need to have the passion to keep on doing that, which from time to time is really complicated. Participation, just like an event like that, we all know that. To me, it's definitely the focus on quality over quantity. It's a typical discussion you usually have with CEOs and agencies or companies. They like to deliver something and they like to reproduce everything as much as possible to gain some money, for example. And in open source, quality matters more. So you could focus a long time on quality, and that's at least what to me is very important when it comes to open source compared to closed source. It's inspiring to have people like you and people from my team around me that's different to many other places. For sure it's about fair fame, that you like to get bumped on the shoulder to what you do, and that motivates a lot of persons around here. It's about team collaboration, at least I think that's an important part. A good thing is also that you could have community engagement like on events over here. It's about team collaboration. I think everyone who is in a team could definitely agree on that. It's about flat hierarchies. You could decide a lot. It's more or less a democracy. It's about freedom to follow little details and insert whatever you want, which then sometimes end up in a problem. But in general, I think it's a huge benefit of open source. But we also have some problems which coming from that flat hierarchy. For example, a lack of strategy. Nearly everyone is supposed to follow his own track, and that's sometimes complicated to bring that again to one centered goal. And that's different definitely to proprietary software. Which is also good is it's non-profit, and we could focus on passion instead of gaining money from that. What for me is always very funny is exchanging thoughts with people with the same interests. And that's different to a commercial scenario like a company, where for sure you could exchange thoughts too, but over here it's totally different. Usually when you get back home from such an event, you're filled up with motivation, and you could gain from those events. Does it work? Yes, a lot of things, and I think that's what drives us all. One last thing, which is also a part of open source, we're never finished. It's always something more to do, and it's an endless story in each extension, core, or project. It's a benefit and a drawback at the same time. So to me, I like to push all that into my team, most of the values, and sometimes that's easy and sometimes that's pretty complicated. Through the recent changes in the TYPO3 family, we now have 2 CMSs. That's why we decided to rename our team. It's just a little name, but it reduces the confusion for clients that which team is responsible for which task. As all what I will show today is not a single person's show, it's a team result. I definitely like to talk about my team shortly. So there's Martin Engel. He works as art director inside of our team, and he really creates a lot of energy currently, and he's responsible for the screens I show later on in terms of the design. Then Björn Brockmann, I work together with him on Phoenix. He's a great UX guy. Some of you, I guess, talked already to him. Then Lars Zimmermann, he was responsible for the changes we introduced with version 4.4, the new skinning, that was mainly his work, and I think he's a great guy, and everybody could agree, whoever met him. Then Fabienne and Felix Kopp, they have more developer focus, and they kind of ground our work from time to time inside of the team. For sure, I'm also in that team, and I really enjoyed if the release manager is also part of the team. From release to release, that changes. Sometimes the relationship is pretty good. Sometimes it doesn't really work out very well. With Ernesto, I definitely could say I enjoy working with you. Thank you. With the last team meeting, real-life team meeting, we decided to change away from using Forge as the tool, at least from a designer perspective, is very geeky and doesn't support the thinking inside of screens. So we seeked for new software, and we found InVision. Currently, I have to pay that on my private budget, as the UX team has no budget from the association, but it's affordable. And it definitely changed the way we work, as it's purely visual. You upload a screen, you could comment everything, you could have prototypes in there, and it definitely changed the way we work. And just for an example, we just collected all screens of version 6.2 we have to review and comment on, and it's a lot of stuff to do. To me, having the UX team, we have several challenges. So thinking about the product, we need to maintain the product, so respond to issues on the same day. That's at least our goal. We also need to have innovation thoughts for the next release, for example, but also vision thoughts for where will we end up in 1.5 years. So these are 3 levels we need to support when it comes to the product. We also need to support the community, so give feedback if someone sends us a mail or an issue. Motivate developers that if we change some visual things, that they actually implemented it, because it doesn't help if we create nice screens, but nobody really codes it. It will never end up in TYPO3. So it's a huge part is motivation, but also moderation, because sometimes ideas are not as good as they should be, and then it's our poor part to say, no, we won't do that, and then it gets complicated from time to time, because the developer is passionate, it's his free time, and I definitely respect that, and it's really complicated to tell someone, yeah, you really invested a lot of passion into that, but the idea isn't as good as it should be for a professional product. And yeah, then it gets a little bit political. Also, the team part, building the team, keeping the team together, having meetings, yeah, inspire the team from inside and supporting the team if they have questions. That's also a huge task to do. So all in all, that's really an intensive job, and I definitely think every team leader inside of TYPO3 teams could agree that it's a lot to do. I'd like to start with a little retrospective, where we came from and where we end up. I now need sound, so if you have the sound on, it would be helpful. So some of you may know this awesome template and great web design we had for a long time for TYPO3 as demo package. And I would love to see a reinvented version, I don't know, Big Feet 2015. It would be fun to see how that would look like. Casper once posted a podcast about older CMS, and I just have 30-second clips from that because I thought it was interesting to see where we came from and where we are now today.
No, it was named TYPO3 or TYPO. Yeah, TYPO CMS 2.5 Professional. What about it? And yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, this is sort of competing with the front end and being the ugliest interface, I guess. Having these completely unusable 3D buttons. I don't know what R actually means, or L or M or H. H maybe help, I don't know. But I guess this is before I actually managed to put in a title tag in the image to tell the user what the button did. So pretty ugly. Actually, this interface was the one I demonstrated at a conference in Lyon in '98, where David Siegel invited me to do a demonstration of the system. And as I remember, the only thing he actually said was, when he saw the interface, I don't like 3D. I think that's approximately his response to it.
So let's come to the next version.
The next demonstration is TYPO3 version 3.1, I think, or something like that. I mean, the version numbers actually was pretty screwed up at some point. And if any of you actually thought that we didn't have another logo in the past, as you can see, that's not true. The fundamental architecture in this version is the same as today, but the looks is very different. As you can see, we have these tabs, which were quite popular in various client applications at the time. I worked with an idea of showing like a document. As you can see, forms were encapsulated in a document form like here. So this interface is known to the old boys in the TYPO3 community as the classic backend. So finally we decided to waste it all and just base ourselves only on PHP and as little JavaScript as possible. But if you look at how the interface is, it's sort of actually reminding me that to some degree we had better usability back then, I guess, because if you take something like the web module we are looking at right now, you see the different tabs in the web module, and each tab is located near the page that it reloads and generates. So I guess that was sort of more user-friendly in a way.
Then this came out after that. Then the next version looked like that. Then version 4.4 came out, which looked like that. And a lot of skins were moving around. Just to give an overview, I run through them. From Lasse, that one too. From Tapio, that one. Some crazy ones. Nice ones. And totally different concepts. I get from time to time mails like that where someone just has an idea and I try to collect that and pick the parts from that and put them into the issue directory that we could reuse that later. first front-end editing by 3EV. This is already several years old, and Web Empowered Church then created something like that. To me, it didn't really work out very well. It's still a little bit fuzzy, and the game changer was definitely Neos and the usage of Aloha. I found this very funny picture in some way, as it starts similar with TYPO3 from the date, and the designs are changing also, just with the time of TYPO3 changed the skin. So it's kind of funny. Maybe it just depended on the hardware the guys were using, and it really fits to the years. So I need to rush a little bit. So status quo. When we started to rethink what we should change in the next 1.5 years for TYPO3, we definitely need to look at what we currently have. So we currently have 3 TYPO3 products, and we need to think of what is the purpose of each. That's definitely something the marketing team needs to decide on, but to start working, we also invested some thoughts, but to make it clear, it's a personal thought, it's not an official TYPO3 thought, and it maybe end up totally different at the end. I don't know that. So to me, we have the TYPO3 CMS with a huge part. It's just a CMS part. As you looked through the screens we created, it's about 115 views inside of the backend. That's all the CMS part. We have an evolution as focus, so we don't like to lose clients, so we need to take them on a path of changing. So we can't be as radical as it maybe needs to be. And there's also a small framework part, and at the end we create websites with that. So to me, there's Neos, and it worked totally the different way around. They started with Flow 3 and had a huge framework part. They need to be revolutionary as they're new to the market. And currently, compared to the feature set of the TYPO3 CMS and the 115 views, how you could change data, the CMS part is not as big as for the TYPO3 CMS. And there's also Flow 3, which is just a framework. So for our perspective currently in the UX team, as I said, it's a personal perspective. We use that for creating websites. We expect that to use for web applications, and that for web services, as there you have a GUI, there you don't have a GUI. So I don't think we need to talk about Flow, as there's no graphical interface, but at the end we have similar parts in both products, and a huge difference also, which then, at least that's my perspective, will be the USP difference in both products. So that's why we currently focus only on the CMS part of TYPO3 CMS. Iframes, the bad word. Many developers hate it, and we thought about how we could change that and use the iframe drawback as huge benefit we have currently. As most core developers told me, we can't get rid of the iframes very quickly, and I think so too. So we need to see what we can do with that. So if we look to the current status of the TYPO3 CMS, there are mainly 2 iframes we need to deal with. And if we remove the page tree, that's what inside of one view. But we don't have one of those, we have hundreds of them. And that's a default installation, default core setup. There's no extension installed. 100 modules you need to take care of. And when I saw that, I definitely understood that the core team needs more support. One of those screens is just the list module or the page module. So if we have 10 developers, they need to maintain 10 of those huge modules currently. So at the end, I guess we need at least 100 developers to maintain such a big product. And everybody should scratch his itch and maybe join to support that. From a usability perspective, there's less clustering in there. We have modules without and with a page tree. So that's the clustering currently. And inside those clusters, we have the web, the file, the tree module, and on the other side, user tools, system, admin tools, and help. That's the structure of the system. And that's not really context focused. It's just a perspective how you could get data from SQL, and it's similar to get the data, or it has the same classes or something. It's a pure developer thought structure currently. The next thing is we only could work linear currently, and I think, or we in the team think, it's the hugest drawback we have currently in TYPO3, that you only could do once at the time one thing. And then you have to go back to change something, or to redo, or to enhance. So that linear workflow is the hugest drawback we have currently. Imagine in an operating system where you could only do one thing at the time. There's no window you could overlap. You always have to finish one thing and then start the next. Would be pain in the ass, but that's how TYPO3 works. So I need to finish something to get to the next thing. Just to visualize that a little bit, I try to count what I need to do when I create text with image, pretty typical thing. So what I do is open the page module, create a page, create a record. TYPO3 asks me, what type of record do you like to create? I select one. I write the text, yeah. Then I have to add metadata if I'm a careful editor, and I save and close. No picture at all. So I open the file module, select the folder, enter the upload module. On the local file system, I then have to select my file, upload the file, add some metadata as we have now file. Then I go back to the page module, reselect the page, reselect the content element, select the media tab, insert, select the file browser, reselect the folder, select the image, save and close. Then I go to the preview module, or in the front end, I go to navigate to that page, and then, yeah, I could preview that image. So that's what we're doing to our users. And that's just one example if you have a linear workflow. And I think that's definitely needs to change. So what the user really likes to do is write the text, upload the image, save and close, preview. And that's the approach Neos is doing a lot better than the TYPO3 CMS is doing currently. This is something we should remember. Text with image, such a simple thing. So just to sum that a little bit up, we need a product vision for both products. That's something the marketing team is currently, I guess, working on. As there's a strategy workshop soon, I guess they will come up with a solution for that. As UX team, we definitely depending on that we know, do we develop in browser or in mail program? That's currently missing. I guess we could benefit from those iframes, as those iframes are separated from the whole rest of the CMS, and they, if we extend them, will maybe give us a chance to get rid of that linear workflow. As I said, linear workflow. Currently, everything is grouped by technical context, and we really give our users a task to do inside of that CMS. We came up with some suggestions inside of the team. So we are willing to focus on user and content first, and we would love if developers would do that too. We always aim to define defaults for beginners. Currently, I think every agency is doing the same thing, reducing the amount of features in TYPO3 that the user could work with that. I would definitely love to change that. that an agency needs to activate features for a special user, and the default is for the beginners. That would also support new users which just come to the system and could use it right out of the box, like WordPress or others. Yeah, we would love to enable nonlinear workflows. We've currently focused on features on demand, which means I only see what I really need and everything else hides. We aim to reuse stuff we also already created just to have a streamlined backend. I didn't know that. I just heard that about 6 months ago, that every module inside of the TYPO3 CMS has its own CSS. There's no general classing. I didn't expect that, and yeah, it's I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, create small and reusable parts. TYPO3 is not very strong in that, and we see some benefits if we would move to that direction. Last thing is, we would love to remove abstraction where possible, but that's a dangerous topic, because I think that's also the power of TYPO3, that TYPO3 is able to abstract content very well. So let's come to that vision. Sorry. So Lars and me, we discussed how to change the colors in the backend actually. It was about the gray colors in the backend. We have too less contrast currently, and we wish to change that. And through that discussion, we figured out we have many other problems as usual. Then we came up with an idea on a whiteboard, how we could change that linear workflow problem we mainly see. And through that, maybe we could change the colors and all the other problems, maybe depending on that. So Lars created a first draft, what we could do in Photoshop. Then I picked up his work together with Björn, and we created some wireframes just to test if the ideas are working and to have a prototype to click on to see if that workflow really works out. Then we had a real-life meeting in Frankfurt with the whole UX team and some core developers. For that, I created some Photoshop mockups just to explain the ideas to them. And then for T3CON today, Martin also created actual real layouts. We could imagine to have TYPO3 styled like that. But it's an iterational process, so we're not finished, and what you see today is definitely not what will end up then in the product. It's a vision, an idea. Developers need to pick up that. They need to be motivated to finish that. So everything could change in details. That's the nature of open source, I guess. So let's see. What we want to change after we understood in some way that TYPO3 is not only a geek community, it's also a photo community, if you look to Flickr. We don't benefit from that currently really a lot. So what we imagine is that we have a special Flickr group where we put great pictures in, and they could be loaded here. But also you could imagine that as complete branding possibility for clients. I think of that like a wallpaper. So a client could have there his own wallpaper inside, and you have branding, but we keep the TYPO3 style like the TYPO3 style is. You don't need to template the TYPO3 backend, and as I often see, clients remove the TYPO3 logo to put their own logo in there just because of the less branding possibilities. At the bottom you see an orange line. That's actually what we hope to have a preloader, that you, while you log in, you already preload the backend, images, JavaScript, whatever is needed, so you don't have to wait after you logged in. You could click login, and we switch to the login mode. So you don't have both screens as currently on one side, but one after the other. You log in, and you're in the back end. What we want to change is that there is some way that features could introduce themselves. I'm not a fan of having offline documentation for online services, so that you have to have a book by side of a website, or a PDF printed out, or a PDF on an iPad that you could use the website. We're online, we're able to explain everything inside of that system. Why using another layer outside of that online scenario? So what we want to do is having dialogues inside of TYPO3 which welcome the user. For sure that will be stored in the user session, so you don't have to do that twice. Okay, if I close that, we think we need a dashboard inside of TYPO3. There are already solutions for that, mainly because of that over here. I think we need this. If you have tasks which are reoccur, or you didn't log in for 2 months, you maybe lost how to use TYPO3, but you have to just accomplish a small task, so it would be helpful to have a starting point. Also, I think it's important to explain even to clients what's TYPO3, and that it's open source, that you could donate, that you could contribute, that you could participate, and so that's also one part. At the end, it's widget-based, and you could add widgets if you like to. For example, to see what others have done. We have the log module, but it's pretty geeky and not used for, or not supposed to maintain data for an end user. Coming back to that guiding thing, we imagine it moves through the system. There are many JavaScripts which are already doing something like that. A problem definitely is the iframes here. We didn't accomplish that task yet. We tried to, but it's pretty hard. But maybe someone has a great idea how to accomplish that well. The great thing is all those JavaScript really are event-driven, so you could even ask, did the user enter this and that word, or did he really click that? Is that a value which is valid? And then you go to the next step. So you could really create tutorials inside of the back end. So that's why we decided to call that currently, which kind of sounds funny, tutorial, as you click through the back end. It could support you with real documentation. Extensions could attach themselves to that system, and I'm pretty sure that will change every learning curve inside of TYPO3. Such a simple thing, but a developer could learn how to template because he get introduced where to click and what to enter, adding in news and stuff like that. Everything will be easier. What you see at the top are tabs inside of TYPO3. We got rid of the menu completely because we think it's smarter to do it in a different way. So page 3 and so on. I guess you get the idea. It's not something new. So if we get rid of the menu, how can we then navigate inside of TYPO3? We thought it should be more task-based, the whole navigation process. So you open up a new tab, then you select the module you like to open. For example, I don't know, preview page. You could open up another tab, with something else, and through that, we directly have nonlinear workflows. As you could start here, do that, go back to this, and you don't need to save and close and everything. So through that simple thing with tabs, which we all know from browsers, we could accomplish a lot of tasks. We regrouped all modules. Everything are iframes, so everything in here we don't need to change. These are just the iframes as before. What we change is the header, the tabs. So it's not an undoable task. We try to reuse concepts, as I said. As you may learn from the dashboard, you could enter content. So we reused that concept. You may know that already from grid elements, which is kind of similar to this. I think 5 years ago, I talked to Kian. He showed me an installation of AOE, and in that installation, they had a lot of FCEs. And he told me that it's complicated in TYPO3 to handle, let's say, more than 20 FCEs. And I fully agree. And that's why we thought you need categories inside of that and a filter that you could say, okay, show me all at FCEs, for example. And then you could select the right content element you like to insert. I definitely think that would change the game too. And currently we have that behavior inside of the page tree, so we reuse concepts and user.don has to learn different things on different places. The next thing, if you have tabs, you could group that in kind of like workspaces. We currently call those things tab sets, as we have already workspaces. But you could imagine that you have a certain scenario of tabs predefined. For example, modifying the template, you need a file admin browser with a certain files. You need the template engine. You maybe need the constant browser. And you could have that at finished set, open it, and change the template, or managing news, or whatever. You could always switch back to the recent tab set. So if I just leave that, go to administration, I could go back easily. That's a known behavior from Photoshop, and I think that works here very well too. To create that, you simply click here, enter a name, done. Then we rethought about how you could interact with the content. Currently, there's a module, I guess it's not that popular, but it's pretty awesome, I think. It's quick editing. The problem is currently it's pretty complicated to navigate and understand the data inside of that. If you think of a mail program, which we all use every day, that gives us the possibility, if we think like content in mails, to use that same module we have currently, quick editing, by just representing the data a little bit different. If I like to change the data of the page, I click here. First, second, third content element. I could see the columns, and the benefit of that is I could really quickly move through the content elements. So an editor who has to create a longer text could start here, maybe go to the next element, insert there something, go back. It would change the way editors could work inside of that. So again, we try to reduce the amount of clicks you need when you're working with this content. I don't know if that's possible, but yeah, at least to us, it makes totally sense to change that module to something like that it gets really useful. With the power of HTML5, we imagine something like this, that you could have distraction-free editing inside of TYPO3. I think many editors would love to have something like that. It's a pretty simple feature. And with HTML5, you could have real full screen, so it's not impossible to do that. And I think we could achieve better editor experience by just having a simple feature like that. As I showed before, we try to create new groups inside of the menu, mainly because we think we should think of an editor context. So for example, I'm editing a page, and I like to preview that page. So I like to keep the context I currently have, page tree, time, language, and everything. I just like to have a different visual perspective to that same data. That's currently possible through the menu, and we need to recreate that. So we thought every module has like modules around itself, and that's the context we have, and we are always able to switch from one module to another module inside of the same context with the same data inside. So I'm always able to open up the tab as preview tab. On side of that, there are two fields, one field to just replace that tab, and one field to open up a new tab with the new view to the same data. That gives us the possibility to compare data, for example. You always could see which context is depending to that page. If I go to preview, we think it makes sense to give TYPO3 a little bit more responsive design functionality. In the next release, 6.2, there's already a feature like that. mainly this select box is available, but you don't have the visual representation. At the beginning, we thought it's stupid to have those graphics around. It's unnecessary. But after having the possibility to really test that feature in 6.2, we all in the team decided we definitely need something like that to explain to clients what they're seeing there. They are not able to understand this is now pixels like this and pixels like that high, and that will represent this and that mobile phone. We think it's more useful for them that they could say, okay, on the BlackBerry it may not work. For sure, that's why it calls simulator. We are aware that this is just a simulation and not really a true browser experience, as all browsers have different details in the mobile phones. At the end, you just have 3 icons where you select the device size and then different devices. We collected a lot of those wireframes, abstract views to the mobile phones, and for sure this should be extensible, that a special client who needs a special device has the possibility to have his own custom device in there. So another thing is, by side of having nonlinear workflows, we want to have true workflows inside of TYPO3. And again, we could benefit from those iframes a lot. So what we imagine is, if you say, I like to open up a new module, this pops up, and there you have 2 sections. One is you could have wizard workflows and just a new tab. And what the wizard workflow mainly does is pretty simple. It has the same top menu over here, but just you need to go through certain modules, through certain iframes to accomplish a certain task. So we are able, at the first time, to guide the user through a certain workflow inside of TYPO3 without having a lot of changes to do, just by benefiting from the drawback of iframes. Another thing is that at the top, this, if I go back, this is the second level navigation we have currently in TYPO3. So this select box you see there, which is kind of totally invisible and doesn't feel like a navigation. And by just changing this, I think it will change also the way we could interact with TYPO3. Okay, we created a lot more screens, but I think that will destroy this party here. Just to sum it up a little bit, we have true branding possibilities, we have less navigation and more space than before. We would have consistent styling if we continue that work. We could change the learning curve through our tutorials. Maybe it's too funny to really use that term. We could have nonlinear workflows. We could have roles or personas through those tab sets. Yeah. We regrouped all parts as we see now those iframes as separated views. You could have a device simulator and distraction-free editing. And yeah, a transparent sub-navigation that it's easier to navigate through the whole backend. Our aim is to have as little changes as possible, to have an evolutionary process, but at the same time we want to change a lot. And I think through that tab principle, we're able to accomplish that pretty well. Okay, how can we achieve that in a short time? The last time we had bigger pictures, we created a user experience week. It's some time ago, and I still think it changed a lot for TYPO3 to have that 1 week with those awesome participants. We were locked to one castle for 1 week, and we really accomplished a lot of work in that 1 week, and it changed the back end, I think, dramatically till today. What we did is we changed the style, the login, the installer, the error stuff. We created the introduction package there. We created the new page tree. We came up with the new backend grid and grid layout. We created drag and drop. We had smart renaming of all labels inside of the backend, so you could really understand what was in there. Yeah, we changed the backend template structure, which we still benefit from. We created a sprite engine to speed up the whole process, and a backend search just in 1 week. We didn't accomplish everything, but we started everything, and it has such strong fundamental changes that it even works through 2 releases to really accomplish those tasks at the end. Yeah, the new installer, introduction package, error messages, backend with file tree, and filtering in there. That was only possible because we had many great sponsors in there, and I definitely like to mention some again. They donated money for 5 participants, and AOE donated for 2 participants, which is still awesome, I think. And another interesting thing, a real client were supporting a TYPO3 project. I didn't experience that before. And even freelancers, which made me much more proud, supported a real TYPO3 project. I didn't saw that before. And even universities supported us. We want to do a UXV again, and we wish to see one of those or all of those supporting us again. So what we will do is UXV 14, that will be the hashtag. Currently, we plan to have this in February in Essen in the Unperfekt House. And we will change the teams a little bit. As before, we will have 6 development teams with always 1 manager who is responsible for that team, who's responsible for documentation, so the developer could focus on developing and not on documentation. The manager could do that well. We always will have 1 lead developer and 3 developers helping him. We will also have a UX team like in the past and 1 coordinator for the whole event. For each of them, we will aim to find a donator who could give, okay, I need to speed up, sorry. Yeah, you could start today sending me mails, participating to that event. Also, if you want to donate, that would be awesome. We need godparents. Every attendee will cost 900 euros for the hotel, food, traveling, and everything, that the attendee itself don't have to pay something. Faster? Okay. I'd like to thank you, and I'm willing to get questions maybe later on when we have some food. So have an awesome T3Con. And now eat outside. I was supposed to tell you that.